YouTube finally let us out of jail, so we decided we'd just go early. I don't know. We're here. We're on Odyssey 2. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about that and why we want you to start going over to Odyssey. But for today, we're going to talk about this right here. Oh, you can't see it. It's like the globe back there. Well, anyway, outer space on my shirt. But anyway, it says I vetoed. You saw it in the thumbnail. My green screen's acting up. Anyway, I'm Chad. He's Marcus. You already know. Nicco, God bless you. Hope you can join us before too long. Nicco's grinding at work and in school, and so we wish him the best with that. We never want to forget Nicco. But anyway, here we are. We're crossing the finish line, out of breath, but we're here. We're ready to go. Aquarian Anarchy, back at it again. All right, and I forgot to put the quote up, but I'm going to read it now. Here we go. Damn it! What did I do? Did I turn my mic down? I don't know what the hell I did. I don't know. Can you hear me, Marcus?
Good to me. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. It just sounds funny on my end. Anyway, it's been a long day, so I'm going to read some Lysander Spooner. A man is no less a slave because he is allowed to choose a new master once in a term of years. Well, it's that time again. It's time to choose your masters. Y'all ready? Y'all ready to choose your masters? I kind of feel like, that Killer Mike quote would be a good one for today too, where he said, y'all arguing over who has the best master when people are arguing about the Republicans and Democrats and all this stuff. And it's wild how that stuff unfolds for people. But I can't say I'm immune to it because I have fallen for that too in the past, and I'm not gonna lie. There's some stuff where I'm gonna be like, you know what? I don't normally do this thing, but when I do, I drink Dos Equis. I might have to go pull the trigger on a couple of these ballots. Hit the little button and make sure that certain people don't retain power. So it's that way sometimes. Marcus, take over because I'm exhausted. I'm falling over here trying to talk.
It's all good. Yeah, we're gonna briefly get into the fuckery that is about to hit with next week, the selection. Notice I said selection and not election. They already know who they're doing. Lots of people like to make a lot of arguments like, you need to vote because you need to be. I don't choose a master. That's just not what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with Lysander Spooner, who said that, if you're voting in for something as to try to protect yourself, that's different.
Mm-hmm.
Like if in your state there's a referendum on something you agree with, that's one thing. That's a totally
making the speed limit
thing.
20 miles an hour everywhere or something like that. You'd be like, no.
Right.
No, we're not doing that.
Right. And I'm always for whatever lessens government power. If you have a libertarian candidate or even a GOP candidate that's relatively friendly towards freedom, then go out and try to get them elected, whether in the primary or in the general. So I'm not totally against elections, and I'm not totally against voting. The whole voting is violence thing, I think, is bullshit. I just don't think it's effective. I think that the most important thing we can say about the election cycle is these are psychopaths who murder and kill on the daily basis. They're not about to just give up power because some asshole voted. And that is generally
or even if non-assholes like us vote.
Right. 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 So I don't generally think that it's effective. That being said, there is some fuckery afoot as it relates to the elections. And I do think that in this particular election, there are some things that we should be aware of. And so as we dive into this, one of the things I want to do is kind of make some predictions myself. And Chad, feel free to do that as well. But I think the Republicans are going to sweep the hell out of this. And I think that at the end of the day, there's going to be a Democrat-ageddon, and they're going to be a ton of them out of office. And a lot of people might think, woo, that's going to help things. My prediction is that we're going to see more war. And I think that though there are some liberty Republicans, I think that the hawks within the GOP are going to really come back with a vengeance.
Yeah, I mean, I find it hard to argue with that in a lot of ways. All right, so we got to deal with either my glasses looking stupid or with this logo. It still doesn't show up. Screw that. I'm going to fix my glasses so that I can actually see when I'm
I think
looking
the
at
yellow
screen.
is too close.
Yeah, it is. I can't use this anymore when we wear a green screen, when I'm using my green screen. Yeah. It's been one of those days, people. For what it's worth, I had a big presentation at work that went pretty well. So that part's good. But I suck on this show today. So yeah, I mean, let me get my election conspiracy hat on. So I like your thought there, but what's interesting about it is it's funny. Like I'm trying to think. I'm trying to like wrap my head around. So we had defund the police, and now we have refund the police and extra fund the police.
Right.
Go fund the police.
Right.
And I wonder if we're not going to have, what's up, Jabari? I wonder if we're not going to have something similar to that with this election fraud stuff.
Sure.
Where all we're seeing is, hey, it takes some time to vote or to count the votes. You've seen it on Twitter. Everybody's gotten the little reminder like, hey, by the way, you're going to see some, if anybody says that the race is already decided, they're not telling the truth. It takes a couple of days to count all the votes. Some of these elections aren't going to be decided yet. And we're going to be policing.
They're not going to be rigged yet.
We're going to policing misinformation. Yeah, exactly. Right. The fix is in. As you and Kamar were going back and forth with,
sure.
In the Men of Order chat. So what I think could be interesting around that is, so let's say a couple of these Republican seats become quote unquote disputed, or the results are called into question. Well, so now we've gone from defund the police to fund the police to go fund the police to where we might have like election fraud. Because remember, it's not that long ago, 6 short years ago, it was the Russia collusion stuff, and every Democrat from here to Sunday was saying that the election was stolen, that it was rigged, that it was all fake, and that Trump wasn't the real president. They were saying he, not my president, all this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It was all a fraud. They went out and they protested. They were thinking that they did the same thing as January 6th, but they just did it in a different way, where at his inauguration,
they just didn't make a whiny baby about it.
They sat outside and screamed and cried.
Right.
And that you have like all the people memeing that stuff and everything and dunking on them. I think you could see something very similar where this turns into a good way to round some other people up in that way, because yeah, you're right. There could be a push to silence more of the anti-war crowd,
for sure,
because a lot of the anti-war crowd is stupidly, but still it is the case, pro Biden and this administration and pro Democrat, even though they're all warmongers too.
Correct.
Just a different flavor of warmonger. Yeah, I could totally see that being the flip.
Yeah.
It's hard. I got to be honest. It's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around how they'd be ready and willing to flip the switch on their supporters that quickly, because they are the ones in complete power of this whole thing. The leftist agenda is running away with things. If you look at the overall arc, the story arc of America,
sure,
right? But I will say this: I think that very possibly what we could see is out of this, just like you had the George Bush years kind of whiplash back into the Obama years,
Yeah.
which then whiplashed into Trump, right? Which then
Mhm.
whiplashed back into Democrats taking Congress and taking the presidency back. And then if we get this little whiplash, it's all this pendulum thing. But if you keep watching, it's kind of like a ratcheting. It just keeps ratcheting up.
Yeah.
And the more and more power is consolidated at the top and centralized into the top of the needle. I call it, political tetherball, where like you keep hitting the ball back and forth, and that's one thing. But then eventually, like it starts getting hit and it spins around, and then the other side just hits it, and it's just they're both hitting it in the same direction.
Right.
They're not really fighting against each other. They're
it keeps going.
They're giving the appearance that they're fighting against each other, but they're just spinning the tetherball around, and it's wrapping around the pole. What happens? The ball ends up directly
Lodged.
connected to the pole, and it's higher, closer to the top.
And we all get the pole.
That's right. We all get the shaft. Exactly. That is precisely it. So that's kind of where I think some of this stuff goes. But I think where I'm more concerned is there's a lot of this, and there's a thing that got put out. There's this girl. Let me see if I can find it. And I apologize, I'm not going to be able to pull this up on the screen, but Julie Powell, she said back in I don't see the date and time of when this tweet was, but this is an old tweet. She says, I would argue that COVID does kill some of the right people. The anti-vaxxers and maskers are dying in legions. So she says that. Well, she was obviously, pro all the agenda
Tyranny.
stuff, right? She, you can safely assume, got all her shots. She got the magic virus.
Sure.
Went to the hospital, cardiac arrest. She's gone. She's dead. She was 49 years old.
Oh my goodness.
So, I'm bringing that story up to remind people to be very, very careful, because I know it's tempting to see this as like, yeah, we're going to get back at them. This is backlash. They deserve it. We're going to, we're going to go fight them, and we're going to shut down this, and we're going to shut down that, and we're going to make them pay. I even saw they had that Atlantic article about pandemic amnesty. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw it.
They had one where it was like a Hans Hermann Hoppe, and it was like pandemic retribution. And it was like, we need to, put all these people on an island basically and exile them from society. And I'm just like, man, y'all,
revenge never works.
Y'all gotta be careful, because this is the sort of thing where the demons that seek the ruin of souls all over the world rejoice and laugh when that happens. Because as tempting as it may be to look at this girl who died and say like, she got what she deserved because she was calling for the deaths of people who didn't follow her agenda or her, narrative or whatever, weren't on her team. What was that, Jabari? October 25th, what? Shots or she said that on the she tweeted that on October 25th? You got to clarify.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, so anyway, my point is that we have to be very careful, because it's tempting to see this and to be like, yeah, and to want to, people want to drink liberal tears. And in some cases, I almost think it sounds like they want to drink liberal blood.
Right. For sure.
And you got to be really, really careful, because, her tweet was from like a week ago, and she's gone. Wow. That's insane.
It's sad.
It's very sad. It's very sad. So I caution people, this election stuff and everything, if this is out of like retribution and we're going to take power back and we're going to seize power, just remember, like, I take you back. Like, the reason the Lord of the Rings is so powerful for people is because all of that stuff rings true, because it's telling that hero's journey. It's telling that deeper story that runs through as a cord through all of our souls.
Right.
And what do they say? I'll use my. They say they're carrying around the ring like, what if we could just use it, and we could use it for good, and we could use it for to win. We could use it to win just for a little while, and then we put it back. Like, that ain't how it works, man.
Right.
When you put on the ring of power, it consumes you.
Yeah, you can't use evil for good. That's just where it's at. Jesus said, "You will know them by their fruits," and the fruits of this nonsense is hatred begets more hatred, and the more that we see people getting angry and trying to lash back out, that's just not the right way. The right way is to forgive. Don't forget, remember that these motherfuckers were threatening you. That,
Right.
For sure. Don't trust them next time until they have proven that they've learned their lesson. But don't wish them negative. Don't wish them ill. That makes you no better than them.
No, wish them salvation.
Right.
Wish them the wake up call that they need, and the understanding, the discernment that they need, and pray for that for yourself too. Like that's the thing, is like so much of this stuff becomes this like us against them stuff, and I'm telling you, like, I have more and more begun to just look at myself for. I mean, it's not to say that I don't recognize this stuff and see some of these things for the evil that they are, and see some of the things that these people are doing as the oppressive, tyrannical insanity that we need to fight for what it is. I see that, but at the same time, I have to recognize. I choose now to see that as a moment for me to look at myself and see, like, okay, what are the things that I do that where I'm embodying the very thing that I call them out for being embracing evil for? Where do I embrace evil and do those same sorts of things? And so you have to be really careful, and you have to be self-aware and introspective, but also like, it's not just about being self-aware and being introspective. It's about being like honest with yourself, because I think a lot of times we can like look at ourselves and we look for our own victimhood, or we look for our own excuses that we want to make for our behavior, or it's different. You don't understand. You don't know what I've been through, and all this other kind of stuff. And I've tried to recognize this from the standpoint of, if I do what I'm supposed to do, if I pray and I continue to deepen my relationship with God, and I do the things that I need to do to make amends for what I've done in my past, or maybe even what I'm currently doing that is not in line with the will of God, if I make amends for that stuff, and maybe even have to go through some shit to kind of like overcome some. If you think about it like this, if you go and destroy something that belongs to someone, then to make it right, you have to go through the effort and the toil and the sweat and the pain of rebuilding that for them, right?
Right.
So if you're not willing to do that work, and you just want this, like the people, like they want amnesty. Like, okay, listen, I'm willing to forgive. I'm willing to grant some, but y'all have to like show some remorse, and not just make excuses like Ben Shapiro did. Ben Shapiro, now he wants heads at the CDC and Pfizer and all this stuff. And it's like, no, dude, you have to look in the mirror at the stuff that you did and the stuff that you said, because you were in support of this stuff, and you were in support of this stuff and calling the people who were questioning it idiots. And they're the people who actually were trying to get the answers that you want now.
Right.
So you can't come late to the party and then just want other people to pay for your own being duped. You have to look at yourself and say, all right, what did I say to people? How was I an asshole to people? And that's what I'm doing. I've looked at it and I'm like, okay, where have I said some stuff? Where have I like used this as a way to like laugh at people or dunk on them, or whatever the case may be? And I've got to look at myself and say, okay, listen, I've got to be better than that, because the more each one of us works to heal what we have wounded, the quicker all of this stuff heals all over the world. We can't just say those people need to do better, and when they finally do better, everything's going to be okay, but I get to keep doing the shit that I'm doing. Like, no, that's not how it works. Because that's exactly what they're doing. They're thinking like that. They're saying, like, we need to whip these people into shape, and we're going to do it by being tyrants. And so what do? We tyrannically fight back. And to your point, like you've said this several times, you can't fight love with hate. All right, you can't fight hate with hate. You've got to fight hate with love.
Right.
And you can't put out a fire with throwing more fire on it.
Right. All this is the tool shed of the state. It is divide and conquer. It's why, the cover to this has, Donald Trump and Joe Biden dressed in gang colors is because because there ain't no damn difference. And, what they're trying every time that we get,
and we're the little school kids that get caught in the crossfire
for sure
in their corner battles
all the time. Right. And we touched on war earlier. That's not the only thing they're dividing and conquering and rope-a-doping with. We've been how many times have we said that crime is out of control in this country? And the reason that crime is out of control in this country is because you have the person who starts with a sore and ends with a roast, and he has funded judges to be light on crime. And what would be the purpose of that? The purpose for that is so that the GOP can come in and sweep, and we wind up with a police state. So this is all rope-a-dope, divide and conquer bullshit. That's all the state does. Yeah. And so what we have to do as anarchists and as just damn good people is we need to rise above that. We need to say, okay, I don't hate my neighbor because he has a different opinion than I do. Now, I may be right, and I may want to convince him that I am right about that, but I don't hate him for it. Right. Most people have good reasons why they believe the shit they believe. And you just have to show them, okay, but you're talking about a bunch of criminals. These are the assholes that are running things. These aren't, this isn't some angel on the head of a pen. This is some pinhead on the head of the World Economic Forum.
Right.
So, again, we need to, be better than that. Regardless of whatever you title yourself, whether that's a Christian or a Buddhist or a conservative or an anarchist, it doesn't matter. We have to be better than this bullshit that they're pushing. And we also have to be aware of and open our eyes to the truth.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so since we have a couple of other topics to discuss,
Sure.
we can move on. But yeah, just understand that like there's certain things that you're going to be able to accomplish through the voting booth in this next week, and there are certain things that you are not going to be able to accomplish. Right. Like I know that there's this all this hullabaloo around control of the Senate, right? So you got Dr. Oz and you got Herschel Walker, Raphael Warnock, and then the Fetterman guy or whatever, as the Democrat opposition to those two guys. The reality of the matter is Dr. Oz sucks, and so does Herschel Walker.
Right.
So if you think that like voting for them is going to be like, oh, finally, it's a whole Congress full of Thomas Massey. No, it's not.
Yeah,
it's not even close. Like it's terrible. Right. It's terrible regardless.
I would go as far. I would go as far as saying, no, I'm gonna make a joke. So right. I would say as far as if you think that those guys are going to be like Thomas Massey, you need to take a hammer out and hit your dick with it.
That's about all right. So is that our segue? Right. Segue to the Paul Pelosi scandal. Oh shoot! Be careful because I don't know what kind of misinformation you're allowed to spew on that one because everything is misinformation until it's not.
Right.
And it's funny that there's actually an article out right now. Speaking of the misinformation stuff, Health Freedom Louisiana. Shout out to Jill Hines, a friend of ours, and she was on Hooked Up Jesus's channel a few months back. She put out a thing today where so there's an article in the Epic Times about the medical misinformation that was spread by the CDC and
Mhm.
by a lot of these different health agencies. And they like actually went through and documented all the stuff like, oh, so y'all were saying this, and that has been proven to be false.
Right.
Y'all were saying this, and that is proven to be false. So where's the, and again, let's be careful. This isn't like, let's string them up, let's light them on fire, Salem witch trial style, because that's the same shit that they were doing to us.
Right.
That's not the answer. But it is interesting. At the very least, some people should have their accounts restored.
Yeah.
On some of these platforms, and some people there should be at least a conversation about, hey, maybe next time you should listen to some other experts too, and not just the ones who make you money.
And let's be clear, Peter McCullough had his credentials removed this week. So this bullshit is still happening. And there was an article, I think Tim Pool and Luke from We Are Change covered it. They are slow leaking the fact that the government has been in collusion with, whether you're talking about YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, that stuff's happened. So we're talking about direct, for those that give a shit about the Constitution, well, you might as well throw that piece of paper in the trash, because they don't give a fuck about it. And because they're stomping all over the First Amendment with all the crap that they're doing. The idea that people used to talk about that these are private companies and blah 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 blah, and I've always argued, how's that different than a newspaper? That's a private company. But the idea that these places are not being censored directly by the but particularly by the Biden administration, but the Trump administration before that, it has just gone away. That's just gone.
Right. And so I want to bring this up. This is interesting. This Natasha put this up there, Luke 11:17. But he, knowing their thoughts, said to them, every kingdom divided against itself is laid waste, and a divided household falls. And that's what this is. This is the more we are divided on these arbitrary political lines. And again, I bring it like so many of these races, so many of these I don't know, this like fake opposition politician battles or whatever are just that. They are just window dressing on the tyranny that's going to come regardless of who wins. And we have to be really, really careful about what we focus our time and attention on. And I choose to focus more of my time and attention on the stuff that I'm building. And to the extent that I do anything with politics or anything like that, I'm keeping it as local and as regional, close to me as possible, because that's otherwise you end up spending way too much time talking about Paul Pelosi and the Great Hammer Incident of 2022. So are we gonna talk about that, Marcus?
Sure. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's funny. I thought this immediately. Jesse Smollett came to mind.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
The moment this shit started going down, I was like, how more fake can this shit get? This motherfucker. And people are like, and one of the things that I found hilarious today is people are like, I think Paul Pelosi's gay. You'd have to be. He's married to Nancy motherfucking Yappy Dog Pelosi.
I know, she got a big rack.
Okay, but I cannot just love on some titties.
And apparently she wears dentures. So that's, just saying.
I'm saying is
that, God, I'm going to hell for this.
For sure. I'm guessing that Paul didn't just have Nancy on his cock. That's all I got to say.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. But no, so it's funny too, because the Jesse Smollett reference, I thought the same thing, but it's funny when you just said it just now on the heels of the stuff we were talking about with misinformation and everything. Remember, misinformation, disinformation, all that stuff was not really a buzzword. That wasn't a thing back then. Now we had the fake news stuff. That was a big deal, and that was like largely driven by Trump, actually. Sure. Which is another thing where I'm like, I wonder. So it's cool that he exposed CNN and some other news agencies to a lot of people, ABC News, NBC News, all that. That was really cool that he exposed some of that to some people who weren't previously aware. Although I think a lot of the people who it was like red meat to the people who already knew, in large part. I think one of the negatives to that is he did introduce the concept of fake news as something that needed to be fought against. So now all they had to do was say, oh, cool, you gave us this weapon that's supposed to be used for good. We will use it for evil now. We will make all the real news turn into fake news.
Right.
Because you came after us and called us fake news. Haha, joke's on you. Peter McCullough is fake news now.
Right.
Robert Malone is fake news now. Haha.
Right.
It's that sort of, this is, you gotta respect the devil. Like, this is what they do. They're pros at this shit, man. They are slick. They know what they're doing. And I just go back to the Jussie Smollett thing, and like, I wonder how that whole narrative would have unfolded if people would have been able to snuff it out as early on as they did this one, because it's already like, I was watching something yesterday or the day before, whenever it was, and Leslie Stahl or whatever, the guy from 60 Minutes and all that. Okay. He's like one of these news anchors, CBS news anchors or whatever. He came on and was talking, and he's saying that these are false stories, conspiracy theories, that it was some sort of sexual encounter or something like that. And that's what I'm saying. This is the same kind of stuff that they were saying, that like regular people were saying about the Smollett thing, but the news was like, I don't know, like there's rumors about this, but it's not. No, now they just come out full force, full court press that we're going to tell you that everything that you're hearing that could be the case is actually a lot. And then you're going to find out later, like, oh yeah, so here's a receipt where it was Paul Pelosi's credit card that paid for the hammer, and you know,
he liked it.
Like, and here's the text conversation between, or the grinder conversation between him and whoever this dude is, or something like that. Like, this shit will come out, and then everybody will be like, because that was the funny thing is, you go back to Hotep's Been Told You, like January 2019. February 2019, when that story first dropped, and Unc and HJ were dropping gems, and it was hilarious where they were going through what they thought happened. And, you know, Unc is saying like he went to get a foot long at Subway, and then get it. And then Hotep Jesus is saying his safe word was MAGA country. And then it turns out, oh, all of that shit was true. This was a sexual encounter gone wrong. And that's exactly, I think, what we're seeing here. But you're not allowed to talk about that.
And to be clear, since we did drop Jussie Smollett, Malone, and McCullough, all in the same like paragraph, we are available on Odyssey.
Right. Yeah. So about that, yes, please go over to Odyssey and watch us there. Go sign up, get an account now, and start watching us there. We love everybody being able to join us here on YouTube, but I would really, really love to be able to have this show move exclusively to Odyssey at some point in the not too distant future. But for the meantime,
of our choice, not by our
right. But either way, because I was kind of disappointed. Like we had a show last week, everybody. We had a show last week, and y'all weren't there. Where were y'all? It's on Odyssey. Go over there and check it out. Aquarian Anarchy on Odyssey. But what was the other story that we were going to cover? Because I got about 10 minutes, and then I got to bounce.
Right. I wanted to also talk about Elon taking over Twitter.
Twitter.
Yeah, and I definitely.
You ready to pay $8 a month for your bird?
No.
For your check or whatever.
Yeah, if it starts costing money, I'm done.
I've had an account since 2009 or something like that, and I haven't had a blue check that whole time. Right. I don't need one now. Fuck.
For sure. Yeah. Although I do think that is probably a better solution than, letting some liberal decide whether you're cool or not.
You want me to let me hang on. Let me grab this real quick. It's time. Let me tell you why you're wrong, Marcus. This is not a good thing. This is terrible. And I've heard actually like some libertarians, some people who I respect a lot. I just think they haven't thought this through. So I'm not throwing any shade on them or anything like that, but I want y'all to think this through. So as of right now, I mean, it's bad enough you have to give like an email and a phone number to have your Twitter account, right?
Right.
For confirmation, validation, all that bullshit. It's like one of those KYC type things. I like the idea that I'm hearing Jack Dorsey talk about, where he's talking about having like this crypto version where like your identity is your own, you own your identity, and it's
it'd be a crypto number, like
it would be a crypto,
blockchain.
yeah. And so nobody would know who you are. They wouldn't be able to go find your house, find your email, like shut your email service off or any of this other BS, because that, like, you would just have this thing that you carried around with you, and it would be something that you only know, just like your Bitcoin wallet or something like that.
Right on.
And that would be like, you have that on your YouTube profile, you have that on your Twitter profile. That's like your thing, and it's otherwise untraceable, but it's verified that it's, you know, that you're a real person and that's your thing. So there's that, and it always astonishes me that we have to do all this shit as real people to prove that we're real. But there's ass tons of bots, and you see these rooms with like 15, you know, teenagers sitting there, you know, going and tweeting all the time. Like, well, how the fuck they got? Obviously, they have phones for all those things, but every one of them got a different Gmail address too.
Right.
Like, anyway, it's maddening. Yeah, they have to, but it's just maddening that like it's so easy for that shit to happen, but it's a pain in the ass for me. Anyway, here's my tinfoil koofy take on this. So, in order to pay $8 a month to Twitter for your blue check, you have to give them some sort of payment information.
Ah, yeah, you do.
Now it's linked to your bank. If you're going to get paid as a content creator, which everybody's like, oh, well, that's good. You know, content creators can get paid now for their shit, whatever. Then it's like, oh, now they have access that way. So they can like send you stuff, and they can withdraw. Y'all aware that like PayPal,
yeah,
which Elon Musk started,
right?
And everybody's like, oh, Elon Musk left them years ago. Like, and
right.
Like
all of them are shit clowns.
Like, it's the same setup though, is what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, at some point, this shit gets linked to directly to your bank draft account or whatever, because they're gonna be like, it can't be a credit card. It's got to be something where it's not gonna bounce or some shit, whatever.
Right, and let's be clear. Elon has said live
he wants this shit to be WeChat.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He wants it to be WeChat. You know,
y'all are aware what WeChat is, right? WeChat is the Chinese version of the Mark of the Beast. It is the smart mark from that Stretch Armstrong show, where it's like you can pay shit on it, you can chat on it, you can be on social media on it, you can text people. It's your banking payment software. It's all of the above. It's everything and anything. You carry your entire identity and life is in there. And if you haven't, I suggest you go check out Black Mirror and start looking at some of the shit that happens in there. There's a few key episodes. I'll get the episode numbers, and we'll put them either in here or I'll tweet them out later to tell y'all which ones I was referring to. But there's one that's it's got Bryce Dallas Howard in it. It's about the social credit score. There's another one where like you can block people in your head. Yeah. And they just show up as like this outline of a person, and you can't see them or hear them anymore. So this could be like your best friend from high school, and y'all get in an argument, and you're like, fuck this, I don't want to talk to this person anymore. Block. And then you could see them on the street, and they could come up and be trying to tell you they're sorry and trying to apologize and make amends with you. And you have dehumaned them in your own perception, so you can't even see them or hear them. As far as you know, they're the same. They're just like the random person that you were arguing with on Twitter about Biden or something like that. Right. So it doesn't look any different to you. So this is where this stuff starts to head, where you've got all your financial and all your ability to exist information locked into this app that is fun for now, but then you get to this point where people can block you off from things. We've already seen it with the stuff in Canada with the truckers, and in other places in the Netherlands with the truckers, and different places that they find a way to bring you to heel. They will force you to bend the knee, and that's what it's funny because Twitter. And Cyprian Vin Armani, he's talked about this for a while, and I didn't really completely understand, because I thought part of it was just him talking about how goofy it is that people post all their gun videos and pictures of all their guns and all this stuff online. It's like, bro, y'all worried about a gun registry? Like, you registered your own shit just now. Like, all that shit's all over. Now, you can say, well, they don't know that I really have them all. Like, okay, but they can assume, and they're probably right, because I'm assuming it, and I bet I'm right. So it's not just about that. It's about if they WeChat you into non-existence and take all your money or lock your account, what are your guns going to do?
Right.
How are you going to get anywhere?
Yeah, you have no money.
You have no money.
Food,
you have no
access to anything.
Like, you're gonna they're gonna last longer than you do, and the guns ain't gonna be how they come get you. They're just gonna be like, we don't need to go get him. Watch, there, he's turned off. He's turned off. He'll die soon enough,
right?
Or he'll come to us. He'll come to us with his own shackles, ready to be a slave.
Right. And the thing is, these motherfuckers were getting the jab for a donut. Imagine what they'll do for Twitter.
Bro,
you know?
Listen. No, imagine what they'll do if you take all their shit if they don't give up their family members who aren't down with the program.
Oh, they won't have to go that far. They'll just take Twitter away and people will be like, I need my kids.
My bad. I didn't even see that. Like, I'm thinking about like if it gets really, really bad and it becomes like Nazi Germany type shit where people are selling out their own family members and stuff and putting them on the box cards. You're like, no. All they have to do is say, you can't have the new filter for Instagram.
Right.
And people will be like, he's right there. He's right there.
Right. Yeah, they don't even have to get all that crazy. So these motherfuckers were getting the jab for a donut, for a chance at the fucking lottery, all that kind of craziness. So that shit's the same. But I because we don't have a whole lot more time to talk about it, I really advise people to go to corbettreport.com and watch James Corbett's coverage of Elon Musk. If you have any doubt about him not being your savior, by him wearing a devil outfit this past weekend.
Look at Jay.
I know he's clowning.
But Natasha's got it right. Lights out.
Right, exactly. Right. But if you have any doubts in your mind about that, go watch James Corbett. He breaks it down and really shows that, you know what? I hope I'm wrong. I hope James Corbett's wrong. I hope that Elon has seen the light and that he's like, oh shit. When they said we're going to kill folks, we meant that shit. Hopefully he sees it and has changed, but I don't think so.
Well, I will say this though. So, you know, I think we have all fallen victim to this misinterpretation, in my opinion. I'm just going to tell you like how, whoops, that's not what I'm looking for. I actually found Black Mirror. I'm just looking for the episodes. Oh, there we go. All right. So I got to go to seasons. But anyway, we have we have to be careful that we don't become too discouraged. I think that I'll speak for myself that I was incorrectly assuming that there was a way for us to materially somehow win this battle and get our freedoms, get our rights back and all that stuff. And so to your point, like about elections, if you think these tyrannical demonic people and demonic forces that are not even like the people, the forces controlling the people, if you think they're going to give up that power because you voted the demons out of power, that's not how it works. But and so I would take that even a step further and say, if you think that you can prepper yourself to freedom from that, I got news for you. That's not the way either. The way is prayer and repentance and making your life a light for people to see that there is a force that the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And that the way that this stuff gets pushed back is not by pushing back materially against it or by using God as some sort of shield to keep you from having to suffer. No, it's embracing the suffering, recognize, and that was to me, like one of the biggest days for me of divine intimacy was yesterday, where I read, and I'm just going to read the little piece that that really just, it hit me and it jumped out at me as I don't know, a very, very important take to not miss in this. Relying on the salvific will of God, on his infinite power, and on the redemption of Christ, the apostle should nourish the certain hope that grace will triumph in the end. But at the same time, he should have no delusions. He should realize that he will not attain victory except by passing through Calvary. Neither is the apostle greater than he that sent him. If Jesus reached the triumph of the resurrection only after his passion and most painful death, the apostle cannot seek another way. For him also there will necessarily come hours of darkness, but rather than being a sign of defeat, they will be the prelude to victory. Rather than being a sign of abandonment on the part of God, they will be proof that God is with him, precisely because he is leading him by the very same way along which he led his divine Son. So that's the thing that, like, I think I was guilty of this too. I think a lot of people look at this as though if I just do this, this, and this, I won't have to suffer. It's not about that. It's
Right.
about not giving your soul away to avoid suffering.
Yeah.
And the redemption that comes through the suffering, and that the suffering is ordered in the same way that working out or running or eating a proper diet that isn't just indulging your taste buds all the time. There's an element of suffering or of denying yourself in those things, and it's through that you actually are brought into and it's, you just have to look at Christ as the example. Like if that's what God allowed to happen to his own Son,
Right.
like, what do you think that he's going to just be like, no, it's cool, you don't have to do that, you just get to eat
My kid
lollipops,
did it,
you just
though.
get to eat lollipops all day. And
Right.
what he did was he conquered the evil so that our suffering would be redeemed, not so that we wouldn't have to suffer at all.
Yeah. And to put it in perspective, it's not just a Christian thing either. I've pointed out before in Wicca, one of the first lessons you learn is to suffer to learn. That in order to make anything, regardless of whether you're talking about freeing the world or what, or your soul or whatever it is, everything you do comes with suffering. Think about when I went to college, I didn't want to be studying. I wanted to be having a good time. I had to suffer and take the time to study, to get good grades, to get the degree that I wound up getting. Everything in life is like that. The easy path is almost never the right path.
Correct.
And that's kind of where we're at with this election nonsense. Is that, man, it would be nice if all I had to do is go down to the local place and hit a little lever and everything's good. But I got news for you, that shit ain't gonna happen.
No, voting is the political equivalent of, instead of working at the soup kitchen, just sending a check to the soup kitchen.
Right. Except for it doesn't even have money. The soup kitchen sent a check that
it's a check that bounces to the food.
Right. There you go. Yeah, bouncing check to the.
So real quick, because I gotta go, I'm gonna drop a couple of gems on y'all. So season 1, episode 2, 15 million merits. That's the first one I would say watch. If you haven't seen Black Mirror, I don't know where you've been, but so season 1, episode 2, 15 million merits. Season 2. Oh, the episode 1 is a tough one. The Waldo moment is an interesting one. The White Christmas, and okay, so season 2 doesn't really have any. Let's see, season 3 I think is when. So yeah, season 3, episode 1, Nosedive. That's one. Then season 3, episode 3, the Shut Up and Dance. This is where like there's a guy, a kid who like, I don't know, he gets caught with some compromising stuff from him looking at stuff online or whatever. Anyway, and they use that against him. There's a lot of, and with deep fakes and all that sort of stuff, there's a lot of different things that could get people in trouble with that. But so I'm trying to see what the other one is. Hang on DJ, that's one. That's the dating game one. That one's a good one for this.
I would just suggest that
just watch
right.
Black Mirror. Yeah,
right. If you want to see the fuckery they're getting ready to do,
yeah.
go watch Black Mirror.
I don't understand why they don't have the one. There's one where you could like block people.
Yeah, I remember. I don't remember which one.
Whatever you do not watch Striking Vipers. Just don't do it. You'll never be able to watch Captain America again. I'm trying to see. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to find the one. Is it Playtest? No, that's not it. There's one that like you can like block people, and I just can't find it.
Yeah, I remember it. I just don't remember which one it was. But yeah, the thing is, they've been slow rolling this tyranny and getting us prepared for it mentally for years now. Black Mirror is just one example of how they've done that. They've predictively programmed people to be ready to accept the technocracy, which a lot of the Black Mirror stuff is all about that.
Yeah.
All I would say is hug your kids, hug your wife, kiss your wife, gather with your friends, stop doing everything online. You know, the real world needs you, and we'll beat tyranny in the real world, not on the digital one, because not only will the revolution not be televised, it also won't be on YouTube or Twitter.
Right. And with that, I'm going to go live in the real world and watch my son play basketball. And
have fun, brother.
I'm going to say peace to y'all.
Stay free.